Last night, the internet exploded. Within hours, clips were everywhere. X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, millions of views stacking up by the minute. Because on a late night episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan did something that cut straight through the noise. No shouting, no cable news crossfire, no dramatic countdown clock. Just a long, uninterrupted breakdown of the US and Israeli strikes on Iran, and what they might actually mean. Rogan didn't open with hype. He opened with scale. He said this isn't Iraq 2003. It isn't Libya. It isn't a limited strike on a fractured state. This is Iran, a nation of more than 80 million people, with layered air defenses, hardened underground facilities, ballistic missiles capable of reaching across the region, and a network of proxies stretching from Lebanon to Yemen. And the moment he framed it that way, the tone shifted. This wasn't a viral rant. It was a strategic conversation. He walked through how modern military escalation actually unfolds, not as chaos, not as random explosions, but as choreography. First, you reposition assets. Carrier strike groups move quietly across oceans. Missile defense batteries get reinforced. Surveillance increases. Electronic warfare activity ticks upward. Cyber probes intensify. Non-essential personnel are evacuated from high-risk bases. None of these actions alone mean war, but together, they create a pattern. Rogan emphasized that pattern. He explained that before a single bomb drops, networks are mapped, radar frequencies are analyzed, communications nodes are identified, supply lines are monitored. Satellites don't just watch, they study. When stealth aircraft enter contested airspace, they don't simply deliver payloads. They open corridors. They blind sensors. They create temporary windows where the sky belongs to them. He broke it down in simple language. Layer 1 is electronic suppression. Layer 2 is stealth penetration. Layer 3 is conventional saturation. Layer 4 is defensive counter-response. That clarity is what made the clip travel, because people are used to hearing strike and imagining explosions. Rogan was describing systems. Then he shifted to Israel. For Israel, he said, Iran isn't an abstract geopolitical rival. It's a proximity threat. Iranian-aligned forces have operated on Israel's borders for years. Missile stockpiles in Lebanon, militia corridors through Syria, drone capabilities expanding across the region. When Israeli leadership talks about Iran, they're not speaking rhetorically. They're speaking in terms of survivability. But Rogan didn't romanticize it either. He acknowledged that missile defense systems, Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow, are remarkable technological achievements, but no shield is perfect, and saturation changes math. If Iran or its proxies launch at scale, interception rates matter less than volume. Even a small percentage getting through can alter the strategic picture overnight. He then pivoted to Iran's perspective. And this is where the conversation surprised people. Iran's power, he explained, is not purely conventional. It's asymmetric. Ballistic missiles, proxy militias, maritime disruption capability in the Strait of Hormuz, cyber warfare capacity targeting infrastructure. Iran doesn't need to match the US jet for jet. It needs to create cost. And that's where Rogan brought up the oil question. 20% of the world's oil moves through the Strait of Hormuz. It's narrow, it's strategic, it's vulnerable. If conflict disrupts shipping lanes, you're not just looking at higher gas prices. You're looking at insurance spikes, shipping delays, supply chain strain, inflationary pressure, global economic shock. He didn't say oil would hit a specific number. He said markets react to uncertainty faster than missiles fly. That clip went viral in financial circles almost immediately. From there, Rogan talked about escalation ladders. The concept is simple. Once strikes begin, each side must decide how to respond. Proportionally, symbolically, overwhelmingly. Do you strike military targets only? Do you activate proxies? Do you disrupt shipping? Do you engage in cyber retaliation? Escalation ladders are easy to climb. They're hard to climb down. He repeated that because modern war isn't just about capability. It's about signaling. Every move communicates intent or miscalculation. Rogan addressed the question many were already asking. Is this regime change? He said modern US doctrine favors limited objectives, decapitation strikes, infrastructure degradation, missile stockpile targeting, cripple capacity, avoid occupation. But he also acknowledged history. Mission creep is real. Overwhelming force can deter, but it can also entangle. Once you commit, you own the consequences. That line alone generated millions of shares. He then talked about US bases across the Gulf. They sit within ballistic missile range. Patriot and THAAD systems provide layered defense, but interceptors are expensive and finite. Incoming missiles are cheaper and numerous. In saturation scenarios, defense becomes a numbers game, and numbers don't care about politics. Then came the multi-front possibility. If Iran activates Hezbollah in Lebanon, Israel faces rocket volumes far exceeding previous conflicts. If militias in Iraq escalate, US diplomatic and military installations become flashpoints. If the Houthis expand maritime disruption in the Red Sea, global shipping lanes strain again. You're not fighting one actor, you're managing a network. Rogan made another point that resonated widely. Retaliation might not look cinematic. It might look like cyber interference, grid instability, financial disruption, GPS interference, infrastructure flicker instead of visible explosions. Modern war is hybrid. Then he zoomed out. Russia is watching. China is watching. Europe is calculating energy exposure. Regional Gulf states are balancing alliances and vulnerabilities. Global powers don't need to fire a shot to influence escalation. They only need to shift posture. Rogan didn't claim World War was inevitable. He asked what deterrence looks like when multiple nuclear powers observe a rapidly evolving regional conflict. He avoided partisan framing. He avoided assigning simplistic blame. He focused on incentives. What does each side gain from escalation? What does each side risk from restraint? He pointed out that domestic politics will attempt to interpret everything through party lenses. But missiles don't recognize elections. Strategic geography doesn't adjust to opinion polls. Markets responded. Defense stocks fluctuated. Oil ticked upward. Analysts began referencing parts of his breakdown. Veterans commented that it was one of the clearest public explanations of layered military operations they'd heard outside official briefings. And that's why it went viral. It wasn't outrage. It wasn't fear-mongering. It was structure. Rogan admitted repeatedly, "We don't know what the next move is." And that humility cut through the certainty dominating headlines. He mapped possible paths forward, contained operations that degrade specific capabilities and stop, weeks of sustained air campaigns targeting missile infrastructure, proxy flare-ups across multiple borders, diplomatic backchannels opening quietly while public rhetoric stays heated, or rapid miscalculation that accelerates escalation faster than leaders can manage it. He emphasized that overwhelming force can function both as deterrent and accelerant. If the message is received, escalation stabilizes. If it's misinterpreted, it expands. He ended not with geopolitics, but with people. Civilians in Israel waiting under missile alerts. Families in Iran uncertain about what comes next. American service members deployed far from home. War is strategy on a map until it's human. That closing moment is what pushed the episode from viral to cultural. Within 24 hours, clips surpassed tens of millions of views. Commentators debated him, politicians referenced him, analysts dissected him. But the core reason the episode traveled so fast was simple. It acknowledged complexity. No countdown to apocalypse, no certainty of peace. Just a sober reminder that modern conflict is nonlinear, that escalation is fragile, and that deterrence requires both capability and restraint. As Rogan said near the end, history doesn't announce itself before it changes. Sometimes it unfolds quietly, through repositioned fleets, activated defense systems, cyber probes, and strategic messaging, before the public fully grasps the gravity. Now the world watches. Markets calculate risk in real time. Militaries reposition. Diplomats communicate in private channels. Leaders weigh retaliation against restraint. And somewhere, in secure rooms across multiple capitals, people are making decisions that could define the next decade. Whether this becomes a contained confrontation or a broader regional conflict depends not just on firepower, but on perception, signaling, and control. The reason Joe Rogan went viral wasn't because he promised catastrophe. It was because he refused to oversimplify something that is anything but simple. And in a moment where clarity is rare, that might be exactly why the world listened.